You walk into a room you've never been in before, and somehow, you remember the smell, the light, and that eerie feeling crawling up your spine. It's called déjà vu. And you pause, because deep down, you know this moment. But what if I told you it's not just a weird trick of the brain? What if this feeling is a memory your soul remembered? A whisper from another life. A moment lived before, just not in this body. Because déjà vu might not be a glitch. It might be proof that your soul has been here all along. You felt that eerie flicker in the back of your mind when the moment you're living in feels like a rerun, but of something you've never consciously lived before. You try to shrug it off, but it lingers because the memory doesn't feel fake. It feels older than you. Déjà vu. 2 words, but 1,000 unspoken questions. What exactly was that moment? Why did it happen at that particular time? And why does it leave behind a kind of spiritual echo, as if a veil had briefly parted, then closed again? Science tells us it's just your short-term memory hiccuping. Some say it's misfired neurons or psychological illusions. And sure, maybe sometimes that's true. But if that's the whole story, then why do some déjà vu experiences come with overwhelming emotion? Why do people remember entire scenes, timelines, and sometimes entire lives in just one moment? This video isn't here to debate science. It's here to reveal something deeper, something most people don't talk about, because they're either too afraid of being wrong or too afraid of being right. You see, throughout history, cultures across the world have had their own names for this experience. In the East, they speak of samskaras, deep impressions left on the soul from past lives. In native traditions, it's called the soul memory, ancestral imprints passed down spiritually. Mystics say déjà vu is the Akashic field brushing up against your waking reality, causing your current self to remember your eternal self. And if you've read the work of past life researchers like Weiss or Dolores, you'll find hundreds of case studies where déjà vu marked the beginning of profound soul awakening. One client remembered a violent fall in a past life, then walked through a forest trail in this life and froze in terror. Not because she saw anything, but because her body remembered. Another felt waves of sorrow wash over him while visiting a country he'd never been to. He later discovered, through regression, that he had died there over 300 years ago. So ask yourself this: what if déjà vu isn't a hallucination? What if it's remembrance, not from your brain, but from your soul? What if it's the part of you that never dies? The part that carries the echoes of 100 lifetimes, finally pressing its hand against the glass and asking you to wake up. Now here's the twist. You don't need to believe in reincarnation or the Akashic Records for déjà vu to work, because it doesn't ask for belief. It just shows up again and again until you stop brushing it off and start listening. Because here's the truth most people never realize. Déjà vu isn't just a sign from the universe. It's a sign from yourself, from a version of you that's walked this road before and is trying to guide you forward again. And once you see it that way, a whole new world opens up. But we're just getting started. Because déjà vu doesn't just mean, I've seen this before. It also means that there's more than you've been told. And what comes next will reshape the way you think about memory, identity, and destiny itself. Because the first truth behind déjà vu is this: you are not just a person who has a soul. You are a soul who keeps returning. And once you understand that, your entire relationship with reality begins to shift. So what is the soul actually remembering? Why does it choose those specific moments to break through? And is there a purpose behind the pattern? This is exactly what we'll explore in the next part of this journey. You're walking down a street you've never been on before, and there's a woman passing by, a certain smell in the air, and suddenly, it's like time folds. You know this, not just vaguely, not like a dream. You know it like you've been here before. And in that split second, something stirs inside you. An ache or a sense of remembering. Science calls this false memory, a neurological overlap between short-term and long-term processing. But if that's all it is, why does it feel so much deeper than that? Because for some of us, déjà vu comes with emotion. Sometimes fear, sometimes joy, but always with the same whisper: you've been here. The ancients weren't confused by this feeling. They didn't call it a glitch. They called it karma or samskara. The residue left on the soul from everything it has experienced before. Imagine your soul like a sponge, soaking up every joy, every trauma, every place, every person. across lifetimes. And while the body and brain may forget, the soul never does. This is what spiritual regression experts found in thousands of case studies. People under hypnosis remembering vivid lives, places, even languages they never learned. A woman described a village in Tibet she had never seen, down to the exact location of a temple window and the feel of stone under her feet. When she later visited that village in real life, it was exactly as she had described. This happened because memory doesn't just live in the brain, it lives in the field. This is what mystics call the Akashic Records, a kind of soul database that records every thought, choice, and emotion from every life you've lived. And déjà vu is what happens when that record leaks through. Not by accident, but because your soul is ready. It's like a breadcrumb, a small moment your higher self left behind for you to find, so you'd stop walking in circles and start remembering the path. Here's what past life researchers like Weiss discovered. People who experience frequent, emotional déjà vu often have very old souls. They've lived many lives, and their current life is deeply tied to karmic threads from the past. This idea isn't fantasy. It's echoed in regression therapy, in the writings of Edgar Cayce, in indigenous wisdom, even in the work of Michael Newton, the man who guided people between lives during hypnosis. There were countless accounts of souls planning specific moments, crossings, meetings, flashbacks, to trigger growth in their next incarnation. And many of those moments show up as déjà vu or a soul alarm set lifetimes ago. Ask yourself if you ever felt pulled to a certain place for no reason? Drawn to a person you just met but feel like you've always known? Those aren't accidents. They're reminders. You're remembering something that matters. Because here's what the mystics have been trying to tell us all along. You are not on your first journey. You are returning again and again to remember who you are and why you came. And déjà vu is the door that cracks open, just wide enough to remind you, you are not just this body. You've walked this earth before, and your soul is guiding you still. But déjà vu isn't just a look backward. Sometimes it shows up right before something big happens, almost as if the universe is nodding, saying, yes, this is where it begins. So what if déjà vu isn't just about the past? What if it's a signal that your soul is on track to what comes next? You see, not all déjà vu is tied to past lives. Some of it is what soul readers call divine resonance. When your current path aligns so precisely with your soul's intention, that time seems to echo itself. That familiar moment you felt? It's not repeating, it's aligning. Imagine your life as a GPS route your soul programmed before birth. And along that route are markers, experiences, people, turning points, planted by your higher self as signposts. Each time you hit one of those signposts, your soul sends a signal back. It's like a feeling or a sensation. And because your soul knows the feeling of this moment, it remembers the vibration, the decision, and also the consequence. Not because it happened already, but because it's meant to happen. Now let me give you a reality check. How many times have you ignored your intuition, only to feel lost later? And how many times has a flash of déjà vu led to something important, maybe a new opportunity or a major change? This is what spiritual mediums, past life readers, and regression therapists have discovered. The soul uses déjà vu as confirmation, as guidance, as a way of saying, keep going. One woman recalled a vivid déjà vu moment. Just before quitting her job and moving across the country, she had seen the apartment before, the street, the plants, the hallway. She had no logical reason to be there, but the feeling was too strong to ignore. Years later, she met the man who would become her husband, in that same apartment building. That first déjà vu? It wasn't a coincidence, it was a confirmation. And if we're brave enough to listen, the same is true for us. Déjà vu is the soul's GPS pinging, a cosmic breadcrumb. It doesn't always make sense at the time, but it always means something. This is why so many Akashic readers say, don't chase the meaning, honor the feeling. Because the feeling is the key. That chill you get, that racing heart, that strange sense that something important is happening, that's not confusion. That's your soul recognizing itself. Let's take it even deeper. In the Akashic field, what some describe as the universal memory of all things. Each life is planned like a symphony. There's free will, but there are also notes your soul wants to hit. And when you do, you feel it in your bones, in your breath, in the echo of the moment. And sometimes that echo is déjà vu. It's like reality winking at you. Even Dolores Cannon's work in hypnosis showed clients who described planning certain powerful moments before birth. Not detailed scripts, but energetic alignments. Times where their soul would ping them to make sure they didn't fall asleep to their purpose. What if your latest déjà vu wasn't random? What if it was a moment you set in motion before you even had a body? And when you walked into that cafe, or turned that corner, or met that person, your soul remembered the blueprint, and for a second, the physical world bent just enough for you to feel it. That's what déjà vu truly is. A crack in the illusion of separation. A gentle reminder from your higher self. A confirmation that your path, though unseen, is unfolding exactly as it should. And maybe that's why it feels so strange, so mystical, so out of place. Because in a world that teaches us to think linearly, to live rationally, to doubt the unseen, déjà vu is raw truth. It's your soul remembering its map, and briefly letting you feel how close you are to something truly sacred. But what if these moments aren't just memories or confirmations? What if déjà vu is your soul reaching out across time, trying to show you that you've never really been separate at all? In the next part, we'll go even deeper into dreams, the Akashic field, and the holographic nature of reality itself. And what we find there may change how you see everything. Close your eyes for a moment and think of your last dream. Not the one that faded, but the one that stayed with you. The one that felt more real than waking life. Maybe you were walking through an ancient city. Maybe you met someone you knew but couldn't place. Maybe you even knew you were dreaming. Now here's the question. What if your dreams and your déjà vu were both windows into the same thing? A realm beyond time, beyond logic, where memory isn't linear, it's everywhere. Where the soul stores everything it's ever seen, and every version of you that's ever lived, or ever will, still exists. This isn't just mysticism, it's the Akashic field. Every ancient tradition spoke of it. The Hindus called it Akasha, the ether or the invisible element. The Buddhists speak of it as a storehouse of consciousness, where karmic impressions and soul experiences live. Mystics like Edgar Cayce said the Akashic Records are a living database, a spiritual memory cloud where every soul's journey is recorded. And modern thinkers, from Linda Howe to Dolores Cannon, have used hypnosis and soul journeys to access this realm, not as theory, but as experience. Now here's where it gets wild. In many regression sessions, people describe something strange. They didn't just remember past lives. They remembered moments that hadn't happened yet. They knew they would meet someone. They knew a moment would come. And when it finally did, they experienced déjà vu in real time. Because the Akashic field isn't just a memory bank. It's a timeless web. It connects you to everything you've ever been, and everything you're still becoming. And sometimes, the veil between that world and this one gets thin. You're brushing your teeth, walking down a hall, watching someone speak, and suddenly, the feeling hits. You've done this before. But what if you're not remembering the past? What if you're remembering a version of yourself that already experienced this in another timeline or dimension? This is where the work of the holographic universe comes in. Physicists like David Bohm proposed that the universe functions like a hologram. Each part contains the whole, and every piece of reality is interconnected through time, space, and consciousness. What this means is, your memories aren't just stored in your brain. They're woven into the Akashic field, the matrix of soul intelligence. Déjà vu then isn't a glitch, it's a crack, a beautiful glitch in the matrix, where the infinite peeks through. And the more spiritually open you are, the more you feel it. This is why spiritual seekers, the ones who meditate, study, heal, and awaken, often experience déjà vu more often, more deeply than other people. They're tuning in. They've peeled back enough layers of illusion to touch the frequency of their true self. You see, when you quiet the noise, the Akashic field speaks, not in words, but in signs, in dreams and in feelings. And déjà vu is one of its loudest whispers. It says, you are not just in the universe. You are the universe remembering itself. You are a soul playing a role again and again until you remember. Let's take this even further. Indigenous shamans often describe a state where they enter dreamtime or soul space and witness overlapping moments in time. One moment becomes two becomes five. They say, All moments are happening now. The soul lives outside of time, and science is slowly catching up. Quantum mechanics has revealed that time may not be linear at all, but a loop, a spiral, a field of potentialities waiting to be collapsed. So what if déjà vu is the collapse? What if it's the meeting point between one version of you and another? The you who's asleep in a dream, the you who's still in the womb, the you who remembers everything and is trying to wake you up. And maybe that's why déjà vu feels bigger than it should, because in that moment, you're not just remembering a hallway or a sound or a face, you're remembering yourself. Not the self tied to this one identity, but the eternal self that has never not existed. That self is always connected to God and never forgets. And déjà vu? It's your clue that somewhere deep inside, you remember too. But even that, the idea of soul memory, timelines, the Akashic field, it all leads to one final truth, which is that déjà vu may not just be something that happens to you. It may be a sign that your soul is evolving, growing faster, remembering deeper, waking up quicker. And in our final section, we'll explore why those who experience déjà vu the most might actually be standing at the edge of spiritual awakening. This usually starts small. You begin noticing the same time on the clock. You dream of people you haven't met until you do. You walk into places and feel like you've been there before. At first you call it strange, then you call it coincidence. Eventually, you start to wonder if it's something more. And that's where déjà vu transforms from a curiosity into a catalyst. Because here's a spiritual truth. Déjà vu isn't just a sign that something happened before. It's often a sign that you're growing faster than your mind can keep up. Let that settle for a moment. The more frequently you experience déjà vu, the more likely it is that your soul is stretching beyond logic, beyond memory, and into a state of remembrance. This is what many Akashic practitioners, psychics, and spiritual guides have noticed. People on the edge of spiritual breakthrough, people who are waking up, letting go, or transforming, often begin experiencing intense waves of déjà vu. When your consciousness starts to evolve rapidly, your vibration rises. And the higher your vibration, the more you begin syncing with your soul's blueprint. In that state of alignment, you don't just move through life, you start to remember the architecture beneath it. It's like you're catching up to your soul's intentions. And when you do, there's a brief moment of resonance. That resonance, that inner click, that feeling that says, I've been here before. That's déjà vu. Not because it happened in another life, but because your soul is so awake. It's already seeing across lifetimes. Think about it. A baby in the womb doesn't realize it's growing into something more. It simply develops, sensing, shifting, and responding. But what if we are still in that divine womb? What if this entire existence is one long gestation, a sacred development of soul awareness? And déjà vu is like the first flutter of movement inside the womb. The moment the baby kicks, the moment it becomes aware that something more is coming. Déjà vu is the whisper. Authors like Weiss have seen this in regression work. Clients who experience frequent déjà vu are often old souls, beings who've lived many lives and have returned with a purpose. These individuals come back to Earth not just to exist, but to evolve, to complete soul contracts, to accelerate their journey. And when they begin waking up to that, when they start seeing past the illusion, déjà vu becomes more than a feeling. It becomes a flashlight in the dark. It becomes guidance. It becomes confirmation. It becomes a bridge between the unconscious and the divine. But here's something deeper. Frequent déjà vu may mean your karma is unraveling. In the Convoluted universe, Dolores canon shares that those undergoing karmic resolution or preparing for their last lifetime often report heightened spiritual experiences, including visions, dreams, synchronicities, and yes, déjà vu. Because the soul in its final rounds doesn't have time for sleep. It starts activating. And as it activates, it reaches for every tool available to awaken the mind. Dreams, memories, or visions. And déjà vu becomes the soul's alarm clock, one tick at a time. So if you've been feeling like you're outgrowing your old life, if you're more sensitive, more intuitive, more introspective, if déjà vu hits you like a wave these days, it's not random. It's spiritual evolution. You're not breaking, you're breaking through. You're entering the phase of soul memory activation, where you begin to remember who you were, who you are, and why you came here. And the more you lean in, the more you remember. Because the soul doesn't just want to evolve. It wants you to remember that you've already come so far. And déjà vu is the reminder that you've traveled long and far, that your consciousness is rising, that the dream is almost over, and awakening is near. Now that you know déjà vu might not be a glitch, but a gift, the next question is this: what else have you forgotten? Because the soul doesn't just whisper in déjà vu. It speaks in dreams, in synchronicities, in the strange ways we keep meeting the same people, encircling the same lessons. And in the final moments of this video, we'll show you what all of this means for your spiritual path, and how you can finally begin to listen. So now the question isn't, why do I keep experiencing déjà vu? The real question is, why have I waited this long to finally listen to it? Because if all of this is true, that déjà vu is a memory of the soul, a spark from a past life, a sign you're growing faster than the world can explain, then this moment right now was never random either. You were meant to find this message, to remember this truth, to feel it in your bones, not because I said it, but because you already knew. You've always known there's more. You felt it in quiet moments, in the eyes of a stranger, in dreams that wouldn't let go, in numbers that repeated, in voices that echoed inside when no one was speaking. And now that you remember, you can't forget. This is the beginning of a deeper walk, a return to the wisdom you were born with, but taught to doubt. Your soul is speaking. Your past is whispering. Your future is reaching back through time. Are you ready to listen? If this video stirred something in you, if it made you pause, feel, remember anything, then this channel was created for you. Here we explore the sacred echoes, the cosmic breadcrumbs, the hidden truths behind what most people overlook. We dive into the mysteries of the soul, the language of synchronicity, ancient spiritual wisdom, reincarnation, dreams, Akashic memory, and what it means to truly awaken in a sleeping world. So if you want to keep walking this path, if you want to unlock more of the codes buried in your soul, then I invite you to subscribe, not because it helps the algorithm, but because it keeps this sacred conversation going. And leave a comment below.